These partnerships are so intimate, so precisely calibrated, and so difficult to believe that biologists initially assumed they were coincidences. They are not. Clownfish, Amphiprioninae, and sea anemones are one of the most documented symbioses in marine biology, but the chemical mechanism remained unexplained for decades. The anemone's tentacles discharge toxic nematocysts on contact with almost any animal, except the clownfish. The fish is not immune, it accumulates a layer of the anemone's own mucus on its skin, causing the nematocysts to register it as part of the anemone rather than prey. The clownfish must actively maintain this mucus coating through repeated contact with tentacles during an acclimation period. In return, the fish drives away butterfly fish that eat anemones, aerates the tentacles through its swimming, and provides nitrogen from waste that the anemone's symbiotic algae use for photosynthesis. Remove the clownfish and the anemone's growth slows measurably. Oxpeckers, genus Buphagus, land on large African mammals, buffalo, giraffe, hippo, zebra, and remove ticks, parasites, and dead skin. This is the commonly described benefit. Less commonly noted, oxpeckers have been documented feeding on open wounds, widening them and preventing healing. They preferentially feed on blood and earwax over ticks when both are available. Experimental removal of oxpeckers from cattle in Zimbabwe resulted in cattle with significantly fewer ticks, suggesting the birds were maintaining a wound environment that provided better food sources than the tick-free alternative. The relationship may be closer to controlled parasitism than mutualism. The Greater Honeyguide, indicator of Sub-Saharan Africa actively leads humans to beehives using a specific call and a follow-me flight display. When a human responds and follows, the bird guides them through the landscape to a hive. The human breaks open the hive for honey, the bird feeds on the wax and larvae. Field experiments in Mozambique, published in Science in 2016, demonstrated that the birds respond to a specific traditional call used by Yao honey hunters by increasing their guiding behavior, and that when guided, hunters found hives in approximately one-third the time compared to unguided searches. The birds had learned to associate a human-produced acoustic signal with cooperative hunting behavior, the only documented case of a wild, undomesticated animal using a learned signal to recruit human partners for a shared foraging task. Cleaner wrasses, Labroids demediatus, operate cleaning stations on coral reefs where larger fish, including species that would normally eat them, hew and adopt a specific posture to signal that they want cleaning. The wrasse picks parasites, dead tissue, and food debris from the client's body, gills, and mouth. Clients wait in queues, regular clients return to the same station. The relationship depends on the wrasse not cheating. If the wrasse bites healthy mucus, which is nutritionally superior to parasites, the client responds with a shudder or abandons the station. Observational studies found wrasses cheat approximately 90% of the time when an audience of other potential clients is absent, and restrain themselves when being watched, the first documented case of image scoring behavior, acting honestly because others are watching, outside of humans. Pistol shrimp of the genus Alpheus form obligate partnerships with goby fish, genus Cryptocentrus and others. The shrimp is nearly blind, it digs and maintains a shared burrow and barely leaves it. The goby sits at the burrow entrance with its tail touching the shrimp's antenna. When the goby detects a predator, it moves its tail in a specific pattern, a tactile signal the shrimp detects and responds to by retreating into the burrow. The shrimp contributes a shelter that the goby uses for refuge and, in some species, for breeding. Studies have found neither animal survives as long without the other as with it, and the specific tail signal communication system is consistent enough across species pairs that it is considered a co-evolved signaling language. Leafcutter ants, Atini, do not eat the leaves they cut. They carry them underground to cultivate a specific fungus, Leucoagaricus gondolaphorus, that digests the plant material and produces nutrient bodies the ants eat. The fungus cannot survive without the ants, and the ants cannot survive without the fungus, a relationship confirmed to be between 8 and 45 million years old. The fungal monoculture is vulnerable to a parasitic fungus, Escabopsis, which ants control using antibiotic-producing bacteria, Pseudocardia, carried in specialized cuticular crypts on their bodies. The ants also regulate humidity, remove waste, and weed the garden of competing fungi. This is a three-trophic level agricultural system maintained by an insect that predates human agriculture by tens of millions of years. Bobtail squid, family Cepialidae, recruit a specific bioluminescent bacterium, Vibrio fischeri, into a specialized light organ in their mantle. The bacteria produce light that the squid uses for counter-illumination, matching the ambient downwelling moonlight to eliminate its shadow, making it invisible to predators looking up from below. The squid actively regulates the bacterial population. It expels approximately 90% of the bacteria at dawn each day, when counter-illumination is not needed, and allows the remaining bacteria to repopulate the organ by dusk. The light organ contains a filter that allows the squid to precisely tune the emitted light spectrum. The bacterial concentration, the timing of expulsion, and the spectral filtering are all actively managed by the squid's physiology rather than emerging passively from the bacterial population. The fig tree, genus Ficus, approximately 750 species, and its pollinator wasp, family Aegaonidae, have co-evolved to the point of obligate mutual dependency. Each fig species is pollinated by a single wasp species, and each wasp species breeds only inside its specific fig species. A female wasp enters the fig through a narrow tunnel, losing her wings in the process, pollinates the fig's internal flowers with pollen carried from her birth fig, and lays eggs in some of the flowers. The wasp dies inside the figure. Her offspring mature, mate with each other inside the fig, and the wingless males die inside as well. The mated females acquire pollen and exit, repeating the cycle. The fig produces a digestive enzyme that breaks down the dead wasps. The fig that a human eats contains no wasp material, only the enzyme byproducts. Coral, class Anthozoa, derives the majority of its energy not from feeding but from symbiotic photosynthetic algae, Symbiodinium, commonly called zooxanthellae, living inside its own cells. The algae provide up to 90% of the coral's energy requirements through photosynthesis. When water temperature rises above threshold levels for extended periods, the coral expels the algae, a response called bleaching, and starves unless the algae recolonize. The relationship between individual coral polyps and their specific algal strains involves molecular recognition signals that prevent the coral from treating the algae as foreign bodies. Different strains of zooxanthellae confer different thermal tolerances on the coral, and reefs in warmer regions have been found to host coral populations with heat-tolerant strains that did not dominate the reef 2 decades ago, suggesting the symbiosis is actively adapting to warming conditions. 9 partnerships. 9 relationships so precise that removing either partner collapses both, designed by evolution over timescales humans cannot intuitively grasp. Tomorrow's animal is the one nobody talks about, but probably should. This channel posts a new animal fact video every day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.